If Saturday morning cartoons fueled your imagination as a kid and powers your action figure collecting now as an adult, then you're in the right place. Thanks for stopping by, and welcome to Saturday Morning Toy Collector.
And if you like my content, please consider subscribing.
Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of Meet the Collector. Boy, it has really been a minute, and I apologize for that, but I knew there would kind of be lulls in our programming as we sort of like lined up more people. I kind of do people in groups, but my guest today needs no introduction. If you're a part of the Cabal, if you've been around Mythic Legions at all, if you're not living under a rock, then you guys know my good friend Curtis Akerman here. Hey Curtis, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I thought you were going to introduce me as Lance for a second, but
no,
I appreciate you using my
I don't think everybody,
yeah.
I'm not sure anybody would recognize Lance from Lansing, Michigan, as my co-host today from a long episode of Double Jointed. Back to this day, Greg and I still have not yet beat our record of like 2 hours and like whatever it was, like 5 minutes, whatever it was that day we went. Greg's
I'm sure
like,
you guys will get there. You guys keep adding cool segments to your show, and
hey, you know what? We're actually adding a new segment to our show this week. It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be kind of fun. It's more nostalgia, and that's
very
what
nice.
we love on that show. But anyway, thank you. I know you just got back from a road trip, a work trip last night, so I really appreciate you doing this. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. And man, I hope this is not too terribly of a long one because I know you and I both can talk. So let's just kick off. Number one, what was your favorite figure growing up as a kid?
Man, that I've watched a couple of these, and this is such a hard question. I mean, it's like you go through so many phases as a kid, and it's like, so how do you name your number one? I'll give you the answer that first popped to my mind when I was watching these, and you could ask me tomorrow, my answer may be different, but the first thing that popped in my head was the Clash of the Titans, Pegasus and Perseus. Like, I just loved that thing, man. And I would have him sitting on Pegasus and just fly him around my living room. We would go somewhere. I would take him with me. Like, I was never a big 3 3/4 guy, but for some reason that one really hit me. And probably
was
because
it from the old movie?
Yeah, from the old movie
Okay.
line, or from the old movie. My mom and I watched it all the time. Like she loved watching like Sword and Sorcery. That's probably where I got my love of Mythic Legions. And so we would watch like Conan and Beastmaster and all that. But Clash of the Titans was by far number one. Like we watched that, probably 100+ times when I was a kid. So
yeah, man, that's a classic. It's, I mean, set the bar high for stop motion animation. Okay, so I always refer to this period as like the dark time, but pretty much, unless you're just like one of the luckiest people out there, a lot of people go through a period of time when they kind of wean themselves off of action figures for a while, and then something happens and they get back into it, and they jump back in whole hog. So what figure or line got you back into collecting as an adult? If you did have that period in your life.
Yeah, I definitely had that period. And actually the thing that brought me back was vintage He-Man. I was at a flea market. I hadn't collected in many, many years. And some guy had just a box of old beat up, Masters figures on his table. And a lot of them had all their parts and everything, but they just had really bad paint wear and things like that. And they were like $5-6, something like that, and I was like, well, you know what? I miss these things. Like it just hit me in that nostalgia vibe. And I was like, I'm going to grab a couple of these and maybe just restore them, like try to paint them up and bring them back to their former glory. And I visited him, it's a local flea market that's there every Sunday, about 20 minutes away from me. And I bought from him, a few times. And then one time I showed up and he had a Stratos figure, but it wasn't vintage. And it was like, 7 inches tall. And I was like, what is that? Like, it's amazing. And Stratos was always one of my favorites growing up. And it turned out to be a Motu Classics. And I knew nothing about classics. And this was at this point in time, Mattel was almost out the door with classics, and Super 7 was getting ready to take over. So that's when I got back into collecting, and so I discovered classics late by collecting more vintage stuff. So
yeah, Stratos has always been one of my favorites because he just has such a there were certain He-Man figures that just look like they didn't belong in He-Man. They look like they were almost from a completely different line of action figures. So like I always feel like that about Stratos and like Zodak and my favorite, which is Cyclone. To me, they always felt like, man, this is like so far outside of the realm of He-Man because they were more spacey, I guess, more. But like Stratos was so hard to nail down. Is he a monkey? Is he a bird? Like, what is this guy? He was always one of my favorites. He's definitely my top 5. Of
I mean, growing up, I always thought having the ability to fly would be cool. Like anytime that I would like read comic books or something, like if somebody asked me what superpower do you want, the ability to fly. Well, he's got wings and a jetpack. He's got double flight. Like that's
if the wings failing, man. The jetpack's there. Or if the jetpack runs out of fuel, the wings got him. Yeah,
there you go, man.
So he has no confidence in his ability to fly. Let's see. Do you? Gosh, I so have to do this. But do you have like any rules or guidelines that you put on yourself for collecting?
You know, I have some very light ones, but as I've been watching through a few of these, I like some of the ones that I've picked up from watching. Especially you had one where you talked about like having a certain amount of your kind of normal paycheck going into a certain account, like a Venmo account or something, and that's like your budget. Dude, I love that idea, and I wish that I was that kind of disciplined, but I'm not. But basically,
I like being married. That's basically what it's like.
Basically what it is I've got a lot of vintage stuff in the garage. So things that, from my youth that I've just picked up, loose, I've got in the garage. And that way, when I pull, anytime that I'm out, like I was in this trip to Iowa just recently, and I pull into the garage, as soon as I pull in the garage, it's like a time warp, right? Like I pull in and it's like all of a sudden I'm in the 80s. And so anything vintage goes out there. So that's one rule. Inside,
is it displayed or are they in bins?
Yeah. No, I've got like some of that racking like you get at Lowe's or Home Depot, the big wooden shelves and the metal racking. So I've got a bunch of that out there with just some vintage stuff.
Oh, nice.
And then inside I've got like different setups. So I've got, behind me here is all Mythic Legions and Cosmic Legions. Over there I've got a Billy bookcase that's got my Mondo He-Mans, my Mafex stuff. And then I've kind of got like a little miscellaneous one by the door. And then up in my bedroom, I've got some McFarlane and some Marvel Legends stuff. So I've got an X-Men display and a DC display. So as far as like my collecting rules go, it has to be able to fit in one of those sections. If I can't make it in my head fit in one of those sections, I don't buy it. And that's a very loose thing because I can justify, you've heard the old mythic adjacent. I will justify a lot of stuff as adjacent in order to try to fit it in.
But I had to buy this Ghostbusters. There's ghosts in Mythic Legions.
Right. Yeah, like the armies of Ashmore that just came out, the dinosaurs. I'm like, well, they're from another planet. They're another race. I'm like, that's Cosmic Legions, right? Like, I mean, that's
nice.
Yeah. So that's how that works.
Yeah. Recently, I just changed out all of my. Well, I took down pretty much everything behind me that was G.I. Joe related, and I've kind of like pulled out all of my 80s nostalgia. Like, I don't know, it's just like it's really hitting me that I need that stuff out and displayed, and like it's just like you said, like when you pull into your garage, like it's like a time warp, and that's what I wanted in here. Is like I wanted to have it like when I walk in this room in the morning, because this is also where I do my work for my 9 to 5, that I just want to, like, it just feels like I'm walking into like a toy store, like from the 80s. That's just the vibe I want, and
and that's what, so like the reason I have that in the garage is just like so that there's an off switch when I get home, right? Like if I'm out doing something and I come home, as soon as I get into the garage, it's like my the work and personal life and all that switch goes off, and I'm home. I'm in my comfort zone. I'm in the 80s. Like that's what that is.
Oh,
But
man,
inside,
that's
it's more
awesome.
modern stuff, right? Like it's all the stuff that I like now. So yeah, that's kind of how that works. But
I like
as far
that.
as like the stuff in the garage, like the number one for me is the Batman Returns line, where they just, Kenner did, I don't know, 38 Batman that was all using the same model, the same buck, the same tooling, but they just colored him a whole bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I loved that as a kid. Like,
Yeah.
we nowadays we complain, oh, they're just using the same tooling.
Now we complain when McFarlane does it. Yeah.
Right. But I loved that, man. Like getting all the different color versions of Batman after, for years reading, Batman, and it was all just the gray and blue with the yellow logo. And then all of a sudden you've got like camouflage ones, and you got an Arctic gold Batman and all the gold Batman, copper. And I love that thing, man. So
yeah, that was a great line. I love that line because you're right, because it did reuse a lot of like the superpowers stuff. Which I thought was really cool. And I even like really got into collecting. Like I think the very first time I ever had the idea that, or realized that a company was like reusing parts, was when growing up as a kid. I loved that movie, the Kevin Costner Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves movie.
Oh yeah.
It's like one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. And when I got that figure and realized that it was basically just repainted green Arrow, he even had the G on the belt. Like he took his robe off, and I was like, "This is Green Arrow." They just repainted Green Arrow, and that was the very first time I realized that companies did that, and I thought it was weird, But yeah, that superpowers line is my favorite line of all time, and I am so hoping that McFarlane doesn't lose the DC license just for the superpowers line.
It's
just that alone.
Yeah, it's the only current line that I collect in box. Like I am not an inbox collector at all, but the packaging on that is so good and just takes me back. Like that's one of the ones that goes in the garage, even though it's a modern line.
Yeah,
it's a throwback to an old line, and so that stays in the garage. And it's actually the first thing that I see is the new superpowers when I come in.
Nice. So. Yeah, if he does end up losing it, I just need him to start making a lot of stuff between now and whenever it ends, because there's so much stuff I want.
Some of the newer, like the characters that we didn't have back in the day, some of them have been cool, but like I just want all the stuff that I had.
Yeah,
like give me all that first, and then if you can keep the license and make new stuff, that's great. But like I just want, like I want a Firestorm right now so bad. Like
my god,
give me a superpowers Firestorm, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Firestorm.
Green Arrow. You just mentioned
see
that one.
Oh. Yeah, Green Arrow. Yeah, I just saw that he announced Cyborg, so that looks cool.
Yeah,
that we're getting Cyborg, so that's great. I never had one. I have a friend of mine who bought one recently.
They're expensive too, man.
Yeah,
I mean, all the superpowers are expensive, but that one is really expensive. I think because, especially if you get it in good shape, because of the vac metal. So
right. Yeah. I man, who else do I really want for that line? I want like the old, like Calabac, the old Dark Side. I want the the Parademons. Like I want Green Arrow for sure. But I mean I want the obscure ones too. Like give me that samurai, and let's see, we got get Dr. Fate?
Who is the guy with the face that came off that spun around? You know what I'm talking about? It was like a robot underneath, and he had like oh god, I can't remember his name, but
he was it green and yellow?
Yeah,
he was green and yellow. God,
like I can't remember his name. Or something
weird like that. But yeah, it was like his face and his chest came off,
right?
And there was a robot. Yeah, I want all that. Yeah, I'm like you. Like, give me everything I had as a kid, and then make new stuff. And hey, McFarlane, there are women action figures you can make characters out of, not just Wonder Woman. My goodness. Well, you already alluded to this a little bit, so if you could expand on it a little bit, do you set a budget for yourself? Like, do you give yourself an allowance, or is it just you have to just self-regulate?
I try to self-regulate as much as possible, and basically I look at like where my credit card statement is at, and go, okay, can I afford to buy something now or not? That's really it. But I don't have like a this is how much I'm going to spend every month or anything like that. But I do like that idea. I think that would be cool, just because then you would feel like if you got money in there, hey, I can get something. And if you don't, you're like, okay, I need to tighten it up right now. So
Yeah.
I like
I
that.
mean, yeah, exactly. So the weird thing is that my money from my job goes into my Venmo account one day before my paycheck goes in the bank.
Oh, nice.
So my paychecks go in on Friday, and then this morning I woke up and I wake up and I'll look at my phone and I'll have a notification. It's like, you've got money in Venmo, and I'm like, yeah,
Nice.
I'm going to the store when I drop the boys off at school. And I did. And this morning I ended up getting the my local Target. So we have three Targets in our area, and the one that's like the farthest away from me had the very first week one haulathon stuff up like
Oh,
2 weeks ago, but mine just got it this morning. It was not there yesterday, and I, because I keep going in looking for the Charles Xavier, but uh Heinrich found me one, so I don't have to like chase it anymore. And then
is that
I
the
went.
one where he's in the chair? That's a re-release, right?
No, I have that one.
Okay.
I'm looking for the one from the Savage Land on the retro
Oh,
X-Men
gotcha.
card,
Okay.
because I actually want to put him in that chair because I think that looks pretty dope. But so I went in and they had the new display with the Count and Beetlejuice, but they had Pee Wee Herman there, and I had only seen pictures of Pee Wee online, and I looked at it in person. And I was like, yeah, I got to get that. So he's right back there, and then I was riding home and I was like, I remember Pee Wee being a big part of my childhood, but I was like, did he come out in the 90s? Is he more 90s than 80s? And I looked it up, and no, his show debuted in 86, and I did not remember that. And I was like, that's why I remember him so much from my childhood in the 80s, is because it did come out. So yeah, no, I love it. I love it when money comes in. I'm like, yeah, I get to
For
go
sure.
the other day my wife said, hey, in May, or she's like at the end of April, she's like, you have a lot of your big bills paid off. She was like, I think you could probably increase your spending on your allowance by another like $50. And I was just like,
that's awesome.
It was like getting that email, like your spending power has increased. And I was like, heck yeah, I'm down for that. That's such a good moment.
I'm sorry, I just got distracted there for a second because I got a notification from PayPal, and I was like, "What? Something just came through for PayPal," and then it's like, "Your McFarlane order of your Dr. Fate and the new Superman is on the way," and I'm like,
"Yeah, that Dr. Fate
man,
looks
that
killer,
Fate
man.
looks so good."
Did you order directly from McFarlane?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they ship really fast. Like when the product comes in, I have a buddy who gets all of his superpowers directly from McFarlane because he doesn't like to wait
costs
2
a little
extra
bit more
months
shipping wise to go through them, but yeah, you do get it pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, you just talked about being out of town. So like when you go out of town or even like locally, do you toy hunt anymore, or is it all just you're just fishing online now? Like,
so most of my stuff is online, and I don't even really go to the store too much when I'm at home. But when I'm on the road, I almost always try to get something. I don't care how lame the thing is that I get. I try to get something, and that stems from my childhood. Like my dad sold plastic for a living, the color that you use in plastic. And so he had to travel most of kind of the Midwest region, and so we would ride with him in the summer, and we would drive for 4, 5, 6 hours, and it was me in the back and my sister on the other side, and we had to try to not kill each other. And if we successfully didn't kill each other, when we got there, we got to swim in the hotel pool, and they took us to Walmart or Target or something, and we got to get one toy. And so I've tried to kind of like continue that tradition. Like anytime that I have to travel for work, it's like, I don't want to be away from my family. You got to sleep in this awkward hotel bed that's just it's not the same as your bed. No matter how comfortable it is, it's not the same. But the one thing that I make sure is I get a toy. So like I said, I've been to some places that the shelves are pretty bare, but I find something.
Yeah. I'll get something. Yeah.
I'm going to get something.
My mom used to do the same thing. Anytime me and my mom, because I'm an only child. So it wasn't like please don't kill somebody. It was more of a, I would just be talking or bugging them or whatever the entire time, or just be bored. Because there was no handheld video games when I was a kid, unless you had the kind that you put batteries in.
You're just staring at like cars.
Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're just counting cars, and you would do a little thing where you would like run your little fingers and you would like jump on stuff that was outside, like fence posts or whatever, do that stuff. But my mom would always, she was so good. She spoiled me rotten. Like she would, like we would get in a long car ride and she would be like, okay, here's 4 Star Wars figures you get to open on the car ride. She would have them pre-bought. It wasn't like we would stop on the way. Like she would plan for it. Or here's new superpowers. Or I remember one year she got me 2 new Chuck Norris figures, the karate figures, and I would play with them so yeah, I have that same, like anytime I leave like my city limits, like it could be 20 minutes down the road. I'm like, I need to stop at that Walmart real quick. My wife's like, we're never going to get there. Like we're never going to get to where we're going. Cause I'll stop like at every freaking Walmart and Target between here and wherever I'm heading. So
absolutely.
Well, you talked a little bit about it already. So this question is like, where do you keep your collection? So you got your 80s stuff in your garage. You've got more modern stuff in the room. Where are you now in your house? What room is this?
So I'm in my living room, and I know I'm very lucky. My wife really lets me put stuff anywhere that I want as long as it's not in the kitchen. I'm not allowed to put anything in the kitchen, but it's pretty much everywhere else. So I've got a lot of stuff here in my living room. I've got some stuff in my bedroom, some stuff in the garage, and then I've got my own customizing studio upstairs where I've got some stuff in there as well. So,
man, yes.
So I've kind of taken over a bit.
It has to stay within these 4 walls. If it leaks out, and if it's if it's one of the kids' toys, she's like, oh, okay, fine. It needs to go back to their room. But if it's no, none of my stuff has to stay here. That's one of the rules. And you've already alluded to this, but I would love to hear like any other thoughts. But so what percentage of your collection is open versus keep in package? So I know that you keep superpowers in package. Is there anything else you keep in package or just that?
So I ended up winning an auction for some of the old, not an auction. I guess it was like a raffle for the old Batman Returns line. So and then since then I've added to that, and they were all in box. So I've left them in box. So I've got, I think last I checked, I was like 3 figures away from having that entire Batman Returns Kenner line in box.
Nice.
And then obviously McFarlane in box. And then the only other thing I've picked up over the years is some Secret Wars figures. I've got like 5 of them that are mint in box. But everything else is open. And I've even bought like some vintage stuff and then opened it, like because I just wanted the experience of opening it. So
yeah.
I do, you know what? I do have one more. I've got a Captain Power. I don't know if you remember Captain Power. I've got like the charging station where he would like charge up and stuff. I've got that in box. So
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I have a hard time like opening. If I buy, it's very seldom if I ever buy like a Super 7 reaction figure, but their card art is always so great,
Yeah.
Like anytime I get something, I mean, and it's not often, but man, their card art's so good. I'm like, and it's 5 points of articulate. What am I going to do with this guy? Like, I'm going to like fiddle around with it once and that's it. It's just going to sit there, and it looks so much better on my shelf, so.
Well, that's why I do it so much with the superpowers. Same kind of thing, right? Like it's 5 points of articulation. Like, what are you really going to do with it? And they're so small that if you just open them up and put them on a shelf, my old eyes are not going to see those little figures from that far away. But if you leave them in the package with the package art and the nostalgia and all that, like it's like, man, it's almost as good as having the vintage, but without paying, $600 to $1,000 for a single figure. So
yeah. And you mentioned Secret Wars. That was another favorite toy line of mine when I was a kid. I didn't even care that those figures couldn't stand up. Like, I mean, like Spider-Man, you could never get that guy to stand. And I loved it when Marvel was like, yeah, we're going to bring this back on the card art, like from this. Oh, it's so good. And of course we've seen in the leak that they're supposed to like be doing some more in this year and next year. And I'm excited for it. Like, there's still a few more on that card art that I want.
I was excited for it, but then when I got them in hand, I was disappointed. And it's through no fault of Hasbro. Like, they didn't do anything wrong. I'm just dumb. Because like the two superhero lines that I really enjoyed as a kid were Superpowers and Secret Wars, right?
Yeah.
And McFarlane gives me Superpowers, and it looks, almost identical. Like there's some differences in the figures; they don't have the action features, but
Sure.
in package, it's identical. And that's kind of what I was expecting from the Secret Wars, not realizing, hey, dummy, this is a 6-inch scale. It's gonna look so like I specifically got like the black suit Spider-Man to compare to the in-box black suit Spider-Man I've got in the garage of the vintage. And it's like, it looks completely different because it's so tall and the box is so big. And it's like, oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
And then I opened one of them up and I was like, well, at least I can get the fun of playing with it and interchanging the lenticular shields and stuff. Oh, it's only got one insert for the lenticular shield. and it's the one that shows their secret identity, so they would never use because they don't want people to know it.
I'm just glad they even came with the shields, because like I would read online where people be like, I wish they'd keep these dumb shields and give us more hands and hands, and I'm like, no,
that's missed just the regular Marvel Legends. Yeah
you've missed the line completely. The whole point, like, no, they need those shields. Like that's
I do like wish 4 or 5 inserts like they had with the vintage ones,
right. Absolutely,
because they would like tell a story. It was almost like a little comic book, you know? So,
and lenticular may as well have been like wizard spells when I was a kid. Like like when we were kids, it was like, I don't even know how this works. Holograms, like what's a hologram? This is black magic. Let's see. So, getting into 6-inch versus 3 3/4, what is your favorite scale? What's your preferred scale now as an adult collector?
As I've gotten older, I've really enjoyed the bigger stuff. Like I think my favorite thing to just look at right now is my Mondo He-Man, because it's just so massive. And like if I hold one of those in my hand, I get the same proportionate feeling as holding a vintage figure in my little kid hand, right? Because it's just like so massive. But yeah, I mean, anything 7-inch or above, I'm good. 6-inch, like I was collecting the classified line there for a bit, and I really love them. Like Hasbro is doing a great job with that classified line, and I'll open the figures and I really love it, and I'll play around with it, and then I put it on a shelf and I can't see it. Like I can't notice it. It's just, I mean, I'll see the outline of it and stuff, but like I can't make out the individual figures from across my room. And I'm like, if I can't enjoy it on display, I don't need it. So I got rid of the classified. But yeah, the only like kind of true 6-inch scale that I really enjoy is the Mafex, and that's just because I will mess around with those and like articulate them and do all kinds of crazy poses and stuff. Like Mafex is just dude, they're amazing. So
I just got this guy in yesterday, the Spider-Man 2099, and this is like not even a character I care about. Dude, like I never read this comic, like I don't know, but this guy just,
I hear you,
gorgeous.
Like, I was never like a huge Marvel guy. I was always DC growing up, right?
Yeah, same.
But I got into Marvel a little bit with the X-Men, the animated series. So that's like my X-Men, which my buddy Jesse always makes fun of me at, because there's like so many great X-Men comic books over the years, and here I just like this dumb cartoon series. But that was my X-Men, right? So I was like, I'm just gonna put together an X-Men display, and that's all I need from Marvel. And then I'm like, well, you got to have a Spider-Man, right? Like you can't not have a Spider-Man. And so like typically what I've done through my Marvel collection is I will buy a Marvel Legend and have them, like that's my figure. But then if one comes out through Mafex, I'll replace it with the Mafex as kind of an upgrade. Right. Well, so I was like, I'll get a Spider-Man. Well, now I've got 3 Spider-Man, and I don't need 3 Spider, but I was like, same. I got the regular, and then I'm like, well, you got to have the black suit, right? The black suit's iconic. And then I see the Ben Reilly one, and it just looks so good. Like the not the hooded one, but the one with like the like wrist braces and stuff. And like I'm like, dude, like the colors are so good, and like the design of the suit is awesome. So yeah, I don't know, man. I'm a sucker for a cool toy. So
and you get so much like play value out of a Mafex. Like I can fiddle with that guy for, weeks, and I'm still getting them into poses that I hadn't tried out whereas a Marvel Legend, I can probably go through all the poses I want in a day, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put this on the shelf now, and it's good. But
people do that thing where they're like, if something doesn't articulate very well, they'll say like, well, it doesn't need to pose like a Spider-Man. Well, what does need to pose like a Spider-Man? Spider-Man.
Yeah.
so
and
that
my Superman better be able to look up.
Right.
Like there's just certain things.
But I do have my lines. Like there's certain lines I won't cross. Like Mafex came out with a Jubilee, and as great as it looks, I am not paying $100 for Jubilee. That's just a character I'm not going to spend $100 for. So I'll just keep the Marvel Legends one on that one.
Yeah, she does look good though. Yeah, my X-Men would definitely be like the 90s, Jim Lee, Chris Claremont comic book run of X-Men. Like that's my, brown suit Spider-Man. I mean, I'm sorry, brown suit Wolverine, and that Colossus, that Nightcrawler. Like that's my X-Men. And so yeah, I have to try to stay away. I go full on Mafex with Spider-Man, but I can't, like their X-Men line I can't get into because I would just be broke. Those figures my gosh,
they're so good. Well, and now you've got like CT Toys out there, and I don't know where your thoughts are on there. And
I have several.
Kind of like
they're fantastic.
There's an ethical dilemma at one point, but at the same time, it's like if you're on a budget and you still want a cool toy. I don't know. I have not allowed myself to get a CT toy yet, but I also don't fault anybody that does.
Yeah, their earlier stuff is garbage. I have some of their earlier Spider-Man figures, and they're terrible. You get them out of the box, and they're the cheapest plastic they could have ever used. They're flimsy, they fall apart, like hands won't stay on. Everything you can think about being bad with an action figure is bad with their first figures. The stuff they're putting out now, however, it's pretty fire. Like
but it is a direct rip off of the Mafex. Like it's not like they're not putting any kind of their own spin on it. It's just like I saw the Gambit one they just revealed, and it's like the exact same accessories, the exact same hands. Like
they're just a hair smaller.
Yeah, you could throw just like something different in there, like one extra face sculpt or a little different. I don't know, just change it up a bit. But no, they're like, hey, this is the same thing, but a lot cheaper.
They're trying to make them a name for themselves as being like the best bootleg out there.
Yeah,
No, sometimes you just need a beater.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. If Mafex gets if they make my two favorite X-Men, which are Colossus and Nightcrawler, I'm there day one. Like those are two I will buy, like hands down.
Real quick, my favorite Mafex right now is the Return of Superman's line. Like that is oh my gosh, like the Cyborg and this Steel, and then when Eradicator came out, like that is my number one. That may be my number one toy line. Yeah, Superboy's the next one.
Yeah,
that may be my favorite line right now. Is that Return of Superman's Mafex?
Yeah, that's a dope line. Yeah, I think I have just about every release, with the exception of Batman on the Horse from their Dark Knight Returns line, and it's killer. It's just so good. It's just like comic book perfection in your hand. What was the last toy that you bought? Not the one you just got an email about, but like that you actually bought.
Yeah. Shoot, what is the last toy? I gotta look around. Actually it's right here on my desk. It's this AWOC figure. So nice. I had a few friends that were bugging me about my wife making some soft goods for AWOCs. And I was at a Toy Con this past weekend, QuadCon, and saw my buddy Steve Mank from Articulated Empire. And I was like, hey, I need an AWOC figure, something that doesn't have, so like the one has like a mohawk, you got some with really big ears. And I was like, I wanted to put a cape on it with a hood. So I was like, I need something that doesn't have a huge head sculpt. And this guy fit the bill. So that was the latest figure that I picked up. So, and I got to say, AWOC is not one that I'm going to dive in, completely, but they're really good figures.
Yeah, so. They're very well done. So I will also, I see your AWOC with the Darla cape, and I'll raise you a AWOC with a Darla cape. It was so funny that I was messaging you about hey, when can I get one of those capes? And you're like, oh, we're taking, we're gonna prepare for Legion's Con, so we'll have some later in the year. And then I got a box from Greg. It was my birthday
I knew
box.
it was coming when you
And
messaged me, by the
oh
way.
man,
Yeah,
yeah,
he had already told me, and I was like, I can't tell him, but I knew it was coming.
nice. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I messaged Greg when of course I messaged him, and we were talking that night, and I
Yeah.
was like, hey, I need to know something. Did Curtis give you this cape? Because I really want to show him how it looks, but like I don't want to show him if like he give it to you and then like you give it to me and then he's gonna think
No.
you're ungrateful. He's like, no, dude, like I bought that.
Yeah, no,
He's like, no, I
bought a
I
bunch. He
bought
came to the
one.
table and he's like, yeah, this one's for me, this one's for Mark. I think you bought some for a few other people. And I was like, hey man, have at it, whatever you got to do. But honestly, until Sunday, I didn't know how they would work on an AWOC.
Right.
I think they work pretty good. So I mean,
Yeah.
they could stand to be a little bit
Yeah.
longer, but it's
Yep.
But yeah, that was
That's
the last
what me
one
and
I
Rob
got.
were talking about. I showed Rob, and he was like, "Yeah, I got one of her capes, and I put it on AWOC." He goes, "It just needs a little bit longer," but he goes, "Man, they're perfect as is. Like they don't have to do anything else." And I love the little toggle like underneath, like that she puts
Yeah,
on,
that's
like that.
like she does all that by hand. So that's like somebody's like, where does she get those little like brooches or whatever? I'm like, dude, she folds those over and makes that knot by
She
hand.
makes the brooch by hand.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
gorgeous.
it's basically just like string or wire or whatever, and then she folds it all and makes it into that knot. So
it's incredible. And this armor does not go on this guy. This was like a pop and swap I did, and the color he gave me was perfect for this guy. So man,
Nice.
dude, yeah, she's crazy talented. Absolutely. You are a lucky man. Okay. So what, I think you probably just answered this question, but what is currently your favorite toy line? If it's Mafex, Return of the Superman, so be it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is it. I've got a few that I get really excited for. The other one is the Silverhawks. That was a huge line for me as a kid, and the Vac Metal ones that they're coming out with now are just so good. And Mondo, He-Man is really up there. But yeah, I gotta say probably the Superman Returns Mafex.
Yeah. I hope you're not going to get kicked out of the Cabal for saying that, but
nah, I mean that's just like I can't even, like, that's just part of my life now. That's not even, like the other things that I look at, it's like I enjoy collecting this or I got to stop collecting that. This is just a thing. Like it's like air, right? Like you just have to have it.
So that's going to bring us to the end of our first 10 questions. And what I like to do is right here in the middle, so we're not shoving it all the way at the end of the video, is just where can people find you online? I know that you do a lot of like customizing figures. You're on a lot of shows, but I ain't got so much space down here to cover all of your shows. Where can we find you online if we need more Curtis in our life?
I think probably the better thing to tell people is where they cannot find me, just in case they're trying to avoid me. And that would be like anywhere that is talking about Savage Crucible. I'm not going to be there. Anywhere that is talking about like country music, I'm not going to be there. Like those are just things you're not going to hear me talking about. But no, I mean, I'm in a lot of places. I do Offworld on Friday nights, but I recommend nobody watch that because it's really just to hang out with me and the boys. I don't think it has a lot of watch value. Now, if you're there live and you're in the comments and interacting, maybe, but I wouldn't watch it on replay. This is me not promoting myself. But on that channel, the Offworld channel, we do a D&D campaign called Allegiance Quest. That is really fun, and I think that people should check it out. There's an audio version on like iTunes and Spotify and stuff, or you can watch it via YouTube. But it's me, Trevor Williams, Nate Strong, and Jesse Arnold doing a D&D campaign in the land of Mythos. So if you're into Mythic Legions, and then Joe Gonzalez is our DM, and he does a fantastic job of just like setting up these encounters and doing character voices and stuff. I've never played D&D before this, and I'm having a blast. It is so much fun. So there's that is on the Offworld channel. On Sunday nights, I'm on Shooting the Shelf, which is on the Just Shelve It channel. That's something I've been doing with Jesse for like the last 3 years. And then recently I just started my own channel, which is Art by Akerman. And that is really just all about customizing. So, one of the things that I had heard from some folks in the community is that, when you look for like tutorials on customizing Mythic Legions, you have to go to all these different places. Like, it's not in a consolidated area. And so that's what I was trying to do, is just create one channel that you can go to that everything in there is about customizing. Now, there's different things. Like, I talk to different artists in the community about how they do a certain paint job or sculpting or photography. I do actually, some videos where I'm doing the work myself. I do some where I'm testing out new paints or new brushes or new equipment. Ones where I'm breaking down figures into every like part that I call it an exploded review, where I break it down in all the possible pieces so that you can see like how you can mix and match things and all that kind of thing. So, but that's the one that I've been really trying to work towards right now is to get up and running and kind of build a library there to help people. And man, it's been so rewarding. I know some folks get into YouTube because, they feel like maybe they can make money with it, or they can do this and that. All I want to do is try to encourage somebody else to get into the hobby of customizing, because I think it is so cathartic and just helpful for your mentality and your emotions. And there's been quite a few people lately that they're like, hey, I just painted this and I got it from this video that I watched where Curtis talked to Matt Stein or Curtis talked to Stephen Bisciotti or whatever. And they picked up something from it that either taught them something or just inspired them to, pick up a paintbrush. And dude, that makes me so happy, because I know just for me personally how much peace that brings me when I'm painting and customizing. Just how good it is for my mental health. So
yeah, customizing and painting figures is to me, it is, I use it as like a just like you're talking about, very cathartic. It's a good mental break. It's your brain is solving. Yeah, I mean, our brains are designed to solve problems. Right? They're constantly trying to solve problems to keep you safe, problems to, whatever, like, your brain, they always say, like, if you get a song stuck in your head, that you just have to, if you'll just hum it or sing it all the way through to completion, that it'll get rid of it. And that's because your brain is trying to finish the tune. And so it's my job, my 9 to 5 as a designer, is solving art problems. I'm just solving visual problems all day long. And so when I sit and I paint, or I sit and do Legos, which I do quite a bit, it's like my brain is like, it's a different way of it's solving different problems. And and I love that. And it's very, like, I get to just shut out everything that's going on. I get to focus on like this one thing. And when I don't do it for a long period of time, like, it's been weeks and weeks, maybe 2 months since I've touched a paintbrush to a figure, but I just did it last night for the first time in months, and it was just like, oh man, I miss this so much. Like, I totally miss this.
It's one of those. I'm very similar with my work. I'm a very ADHD type person, and my brain will be just going a whole bunch of different places, and at work, I'm putting out fires. I'm not a firefighter, but you know what I'm saying? Like, people will have these problems and I got to just jump on them right then and there and take care of it, and then get back to what I was working on. And I'm, I've got like 5 tabs open at the same time, working on different problems and stuff. And then I go to paint, like, let's say a set of eyes, and it's so tiny and so like precise that I've got to shut everything else out and focus on this one thing. And it's like the one time my brain is quiet.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, just the same that some people may want to avoid me on YouTube. Like, they're like, man, I see this guy everywhere. Imagine having my words and thoughts in your head all the time. Like, sometimes you're just like, man, I need a break. And so that's when I will paint.
Even Curtis needs a break from himself.
I need a break for Curtis. Yeah.
Awesome. All right,
but like,
cool. Let's get.
And you know what? Even if I can't do that, one thing that I found, Dusty Standiford has these Cabal Creations coloring books through Dang Studios.
I've seen those. That's
and
right.
He's got a cosmic one and a mythic one. Dude, sometimes just sitting down and coloring for a bit. And I know, like, some of us have not colored in 20 years or whatever. But I tell you what, you sit down and color a picture, and man, you'd be surprised how good that is for just your happiness.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. I
yeah,
also draw comics, so I can attest that there
there
are
you
many
go.
nights I'm, sitting and watching basketball and I'm literally coloring a picture. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, let's dive into the last 10. These get really good.
Okay.
The last 10 are some of my favorite questions. So, do you collect anything besides action figures?
Um, not really. Not really. It's pretty much all toys. So, I have started over the last few years trying to collect customs from my friends. So people
Mm,
that I'm really close with in the community, I want to have a piece of their art in my collection. So that's kind of a little sub collecting. That's probably the best answer I could give you, other than just toys from companies.
yeah,
So,
yeah. For me, it's coffee mugs. I love
oh,
coffee.
very nice.
So if it's Star Wars related or the least bit like um inappropriate, like then I'm gonna buy it. And I have to remember like which one it is because I have one that the bottom of the coffee cup has a middle finger on it. And I bought it because me and my friend are always constantly sending each other texts or videos and stuff about trying to flip each other off. And
Hmm.
we'll go and make these very elaborate setups if it's a video, to try to like trick each other into like watching somebody flip each other off. And so I bought, my wife actually for my birthday got me a coffee cup that is completely normal, but when you flip it upside down, it's got a middle finger. I have to
That's
remember that
awesome.
I'm drinking out of that if I'm on a Zoom
So you
or a
don't have the
meeting,
wrong person on the other end.
because I'm literally just working at talking with people at campus, and then like they're like, "What's that on your coffee mug?" Nothing, my
Yeah,
bad.
forget it. That is nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, what is a pre-order that you have coming this year that you're very much looking forward to?
Dude, I would have just said the Dr. Fate. Like that, man, I've been ever since they revealed that, I've been looking forward to it. But since that one's on the way, I will say Sir Enoch from Mythic Legions, the other
Mm-hmm.
Templar. I mean, Elijah's great. I love Elijah, but Enoch is basically like Elijah and a cape. And who doesn't love a
Yeah,
cape, right?
exactly.
So yeah, that dude, like for when that was pre-ordered and it was $37, the amount of soft goods and parts and hands and weapons and stuff that you get for $37 is ridiculous. Like it
Right.
is such a good value. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are companies out there that you'll pay more than $37 just for the soft
oh
goods,
yeah.
and you're getting a free figure.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
absolutely.
Yeah, I can't wait to get Sir Enoch as well because in my head canon, he is the old wizened Templar that is teaching his young Sir Elijah how to fight vampires. And so,
That's cool.
like, I have like this whole head canon about like these two, and I can't wait for them to go on adventures together. Yeah, I'm desperately
I tell you
looking at
what,
that
if
as well.
you like the idea of Templars fighting vampires and stuff, you should check out God's Fire through Wolf King Customs. They've got this page is godsfireseries.com. And Emil and Steven have created these characters that are basically Templars that fight monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got like the bios that they've written and stuff in there. And if you go to a certain section, you can have Emil read the bios to you. Dude, I mean,
Oh yeah, I've listened to the
I can
whole
have
first
Emil read
season.
anything,
Yeah,
but yeah,
exactly.
about Templars fighting monsters. Yeah.
Yeah, I want Emil's voice in my AI on my phone so I can just like scan like a menu at dinner and then just have Emil read me what I'm going to have for dinner. Like, yeah, absolutely. Those episodes are amazing. They're so good. Like they've really inspired me to like I want to do something like that as well.
They're cool.
Um, yeah, absolutely. What is a figure? These are the ones that really get me excited because this is all like I feel like I learn more about people through these next few questions. But what is a figure or a line that has not been announced by anybody that you would
Mm.
love to see made?
My number one would be Battle Beast. Man, if they
Oh
did a
yeah.
modern day Battle Beast, I honestly don't care if they would be bigger, like 6-7 inch, or if they were just the same ones that we got when we were younger. But dude, I loved Battle Beast so much. The anthropomorphic part of it is cool, but my favorite was not knowing what they were going to be as far as what faction until you opened them up and did the little thermal rub, you know, and you would get one that's like, you're like, oh, well, this one's a shark. Obviously he's going to be water. And then you do the thermal rub and you're like, he's fire. He's a shark, but he's fire. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
How can a shark be fire? And just that like little extra surprise that you don't get until you open it up was awesome.
Yeah, I think that they made a much better use of that thermal rub technology than the Transformers did, because it was never a surprise with the Transformers.
Yeah.
It's like, you knew, like, here's Bumblebee. He's got a thermal rub. What faction is he? Well, he's Autobots. Like, we've all seen the cartoon. Like,
If anything's got a lot of black and purple, it's probably going to be a Decepticon.
Yeah.
Just, you know.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they got out of those original tropes with Transformers, because I think I remember reading somewhere, and I guess I didn't pick up on this as a kid, but like when they were trying to figure out which characters to put into like to the Transformers line proper, it was like if they were trucks or cars, they were Autobots. If they were jets or weapons, then they were Decepticons. And so I'm glad they broke out of that, and you would get Decepticon cars, but also Autobot jets. Like, I'm glad they broke out of that.
I never really thought about that, but yeah, that is true.
For a couple of lines, it was kind of like that until they kind of decided to break out of that. But so Battle Beasts, that'd be really cool. Now, do you want them to be like 6-7 inch scale, or do you want like the little pocket?
I really probably wouldn't care, but I think I would prefer the smaller ones. You know, you'd get a lot more for your money in terms of how many you could get. You could just build them out a lot easier, and it would hit you in the nostalgia as far as the size of it. But if they put out anything Battle Beast, I don't care if they put out. I am the most anti Funko Pop fan you'll ever meet. If they put out Battle Beast pops, I would be getting them. So
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I feel you. All right. This is a really good one. And I feel like you're going to give me something good. If you could take one toy line away from its current producer and give it to another toy company, what line would it be and what company would it be?
You know, I would have said Silverhawks from Super 7 to anybody, but they've been doing a really good job with the back metal now. Yeah. So I would leave that there, and man, I would say I would really like to see Mafex just do more DC, like just DC in general. Now we've gotten the Hush line from Batman, we've got the Dark Knight Returns, we've got the Superman Return, but I just want like a Justice League, like give me all of DC in Mafex, and dude, I will buy every single one of them. As much as I love the McFarlane figures because of the price point and the availability for the most part, you know, they're not the same quality as like a Mafex. Like it is very much a, you know, $25 in the store kind of line. But dude, if I could get a Mafex Justice League, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're right. Because like with Mafex, it seems like it either has to be from like a movie, or it has to be from a very specific comic book line,
like a run. Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, yes, we're getting a really cool Nightwing, but that Nightwing is from Hush. Like, it's very specifically from Hush. But you're right. If it was just like, if they could get into doing DC comic stuff the way that they're doing Marvel comic stuff, like with the X-Men, yeah, absolutely. Game over.
Like give me a Martian Manhunter, Red Tornado, Firestorm, like all those things. So
yeah, so broke. I probably know the answer to this question, but it's on here just because I'm really interested if anybody has in different parts of the country, if they have something that's really cool that I don't know about. But what is your favorite toy con and why?
My favorite toy convention is actually MuskeeCon. And I know people are going to probably expect that I'm going to say Legions Con, and Legions Con is great. It's amazing. The one problem that I have with Legions Con is that it's like every minute of every day is pretty much planned out. Like you've got this show is on at this time, and here's when the doors open, and here's when there's a pop and swap, and here's where there's you paint, and here's where you go to intern, and here's where you go to GCon. It's like, dude, you can't even find time to like go to the bathroom. You're like, I don't even know where I'm looking at the schedule. I'm like, I'm not eating, I'm not sleeping, and I'm not going to the bathroom. MuskeeCon is like, you get that same vibe of the family atmosphere of Legion's Con, but it's just a lot more laid back. You've got this meetup on Friday night that you're just hanging out and chilling and talking to people, and Pete McCarthy is just being funny and cracking jokes and stuff. And then on Saturday after the show, everybody just has a big giant like banquet dinner. Like the con is at a hotel, just like it is for Legion's Con. And there's a restaurant in the hotel, and they basically just give us the whole bottom section of the restaurant where they let it just be our folks. So all the Mythic Legions folks from the community that show up at MuskeeCon, we kind of get that whole area of the restaurant to ourselves. And so you'll sit at a table to eat, but then you'll just kind of like walk back and forth to the other tables and talk. And, while you're waiting for the food to come, you're just kind of moseying around and moving from conversation to conversation.
Yeah, that does sound fun.
It's just this very super intimate like thing. Whereas, with Legion's Con, like if you let's say you go to dinner at the pub, you may be able to interact with 4 or 5 people at the table, but you're not going to fit much more than that. Right.
Yeah. Whereas there's not a lot of room to like get up and move
around. You get
like
50 people having one gigantic feast together. So
yeah, that sounds great.
Really cool.
Cool. I'll have to make sure to like try to get up there eventually. I think we're going to try. We were going to go when Greg and his fiance were having their wedding in the fall of this year. We were going to go up there and travel around that area. But now they're having it this summer. So we're not. So I think we're going to try to plan a trip next year to go up there. And I think, man, trying to go to MuskeeCon would be really good. Really
yeah.
Good.
For those that don't know, it's in Michigan. And it's in the town is called Muskegon, and the show is MuskeeCon. But it's in Michigan, and usually about mid-March. So
yeah, sweet. Yeah, well, that's right between my wife's birthday and my birthday, so that'd be a fun little getaway for the two of us to go.
There you go.
Do you have any collecting regrets?
Collecting regrets. So the kind of worst thing, well, I wouldn't say the worst thing because something else worse happened, but the second worst thing that happened to me in terms of collecting is one day I went to school and I came home and my mom had given away my Superpowers collection. And I had everything. I mean, every vehicle, every figure. It was the one toy line that I had the checklist on the back where I had checked off every single thing on the newest card, like not the
right.
Well, I got the first 12, or I got the last figure that came out. I had every box checked on there. And I went to school, came home one day, and she's like, "Oh, by the way, I gave away your." I think she said your superheroes. And I'm like, what? She's like, the Hall of Justice and all that. Like, I gave that away. I'm like, why did you do that? She's like, well, you're getting older. You don't need that anymore. And this kid didn't have, it was like to a family that was kind of needy and whatever. And that's cool. Like, whatever, you can give them some money. You can buy some toys at the store and give them to them, but don't be giving my collection away.
Not my stuff.
Yeah. So I guess my regret is going to school that day. If I had to do it over again, I would go back in time and tell myself, hey, today, just stay home and just lock your door. Don't let your mom.
How old were you when this happened?
I think I was probably like 13 or 14.
Okay.
But dude, it still pains me. So
dude, I very distinctly remember going into a toy store with my mom. It wasn't like a toy store. It must have been I think it was like a Walmart. And we were on the toy aisle, and she said I could get something, and I saw the Optimus Prime and the trailer. And I want to say that it was like $25 or something like that, but she was like, no, that's too expensive. And I had picked it up, and I did this thing to where, like, when she told me no, like, I would pick something up and I was like, well, I'm just going to look at it. and I would just walk around the store.
Yeah.
And I would just walk around and I'd look at it and be like, "Oh, Mom, look, look all this really cool stuff it comes with." And I would just keep trying to make my case for it the whole time, right? And then finally, she'd had enough, and we were done shopping. So we walked back over to the toy aisle, and I just kept saying, Mom, I don't even have to go back over there. I don't have to look for anything else. This is it. This is what I want. She's like, "We can't get that today. You have to put it back on the shelf." And right when I did, when I reluctantly put it on the shelf, this other kid walked right by and picked it up and said, "Mom, can I get it?" She said yes. It was the only one, and that kid walked home with it, like he got to leave with it. And I was just like, I just looked at my mom with like, "I can't believe you ruined my life. Like, I cannot believe you've done this." She's like, "You have to get something else." I'm like, "I don't want anything else." And I didn't. I went
life.
like never. And then like, dude, it was so funny when like fast forward, like I don't remember. It's like when me and my wife were just dating, and like the 20th anniversary Optimus Prime came out, and it was much bigger, and it was at Toys R Us, and I went in. We were just dating at the time, and she's like. And I was like, I think it was $99. And I was like, or $79.99, something like that. And I was like, "I'm buying this." She goes, "You're not about to spend that kind of money on a toy, are you?" I'm like, "Watch me." And then I had that Goonies moment when it was like, "I didn't get my wish. I'm taking them back. I'm taking them all back." And I bought that Optimus Prime.
What would be great is as you were reaching for it, if some kid grabbed it.
Exactly.
Like, "Mom, can I get this?" So they were like, "Yeah."
"No, you're not." And I'd kick that little kid over. Has a friend ever gotten you into a line that you were otherwise like you didn't care about?
Yep, that's how I got into Mythic Legions. So
nice.
Yeah. So after I got back into collecting with Masters of the Universe, I was like, that's all I was going to get. I was just going to do Masters of the Universe, some vintage stuff, maybe pick up some classics and everything. And the guy that I was getting the stuff from the flea market, like there a couple times where I show up and I'd be like, "Well, hey, you got anything else?" And he's like, "Oh, I got this." I'm like, "No, I already bought that from you. I already bought this." And he's like, "Well, you should really check out the toy groups on Facebook." And I'm like, "I don't even know what you're talking about." Like that, like those words didn't, I knew what each of the words meant, but I've never heard them together, right. And he's like, "Yeah, there's like these groups on Facebook, like fan groups for different things. And you just go and like search for it and you can find one and go." He goes, "There's a bunch of the, Masters ones." And he gave me a couple to look up. And so I went home and looked them up, and I was like, "Oh, wow, this is cool." Like a whole toy community of like actual adults that still collect toys. I was like, I didn't even know this was a thing. Like I knew nobody that collected toys. I thought I was just like this oddity of a human being that's like collecting toys at 30 something years old. And so I started listening to this podcast, and it's called Podcasters of the Universe. It's a Motu podcast with Stephen Bisciotti and Jeremy DeWitt, and which, by the way, if you've never listened to it, they are totally different personalities than what they have on My Wife Is Going to Kill Me. My Wife Is Going to Kill Me is like the rated R version. Podcast of the Universe is like, I don't even know if it's PG. I would say it's G. It's so like they are just bubbly, giggly, playing with toys, having a good time, being giant kids. And they do this thing where it's mostly an audio podcast, but they do this thing where they go live on Facebook to do toy reviews. So they'll go live on their channel and they'll show off the toys that they've picked up and stuff. And one day they did that, and they showed off Darina, which is like the She-Ra tribute in
right. Yeah.
And then they showed off the Lord Dragul, which is the Hordak tribute. And that's the one that got me. And I was like, "What is that?" Like, it is so cool. Like just the bright colors and everything. Like I was like, "This is the coolest thing." And I messaged Steven afterwards because we had conversed a little bit about different Motu things. And I was like, where do you even get that? That thing's awesome. And he's like, "What's your address?" And I was like, "Why?" And he's like, "Just send me your address." I sent it to him. He's like, "I'm going to send you one." I was like, "Well, what do you want for it?" He goes, "Don't worry about it. I'm going to send you one." I was like, "Okay, whatever." And I got that thing in hand, and I was like, "This is the coolest toy line I've ever seen in my life." And that was it. I was done, man. I went to Big Bad Toy Store and I got everything that they had available. I started getting in on the pre-orders and stuff. And then once I found out that you could actually swap parts and paint and all this kind of stuff, like I was done for. But I didn't even know the line existed. And yeah, he, since then I've said, if you want to get anybody into Mythic Legions, all you got to do is hand them a figure, hand them one figure, and it's game over. So
absolutely, get one in hand. That's all you got to do. All right, now I know this one's tough, but if you had to sell it all, and you could only keep one toy line, you could focus all of your energy on one toy line, what would it be?
I mean, it would have to be Mythic Legions because it's the thing I have the most of. It's the thing that brings me the most joy in terms of, my friends, the customizing nature of it. It's the thing that I built my YouTube channel around. It would have to be Mythic Legions. There's a lot of other ones that I really enjoy and they bring me a lot of, excitement and joy in my life. But dude, Mythic Legions is number one for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Another tough one, but we're at the end. Let's just get harder as we go. That's how they're designed.
There you go.
House is on fire. You can only grab one, just one figure and save. Your family is fine. Your family is safe. All your animals are good. You've got enough time to grab one figure. What's it going to be?
As I drop it.
And it broke.
No, it's just the stand that's on it, but it's this one right here. It's a custom that I got from hold on, when the stand came off it. Okay, so it's this custom that I got from Jeremy Gerard. He calls this one the Princess of the Frogs. It's a tribute to a old Disney animated, and it's from a Hera serpent spire, and did this like voodoo mask on her and stuff. And
yeah, it's fun.
When I first got into Mythic Legions, he was one of the main customizers that I would, follow and see. And he had a website that you could go to where he would have his creations and he would have the recipe and all this kind of stuff. And I just loved this figure. And for years I was like, dude, at some point I'm going to own that figure. And he's like, nah, I'm just never selling it. Like it's just not one that I can part with. And I was like, dude, I'm telling you, someday I'm going to own that figure. I don't care how much money it costs. I'm going to own that figure.
I will break into your house.
Yeah.
You're asleep.
Yeah.
And steal that figure.
So, not this past year, but the year before, he announced that he was going to be bringing her to Legions Con. And he was like showing off some of the stuff he was bringing. He's like, I'm bringing her. I'm like, dude, you're not taking her home.
Well, you're not leaving with her.
Yeah. And he's like, nah, man, I'm just not selling it, whatever. So I get there and I walk over and I look at it and I'm like, so what do you want for it? And he goes, I told you I'm not selling it. Right. And he's like, but just out of curiosity, what would you offer me? And I gave him a number and he's like, how about this? And he gave me a number that was lower than the number I said. And I was like thinking that he's crazy. Like, dude's lost his mind. He's going to sell it to me. That's not how you negotiate. Yeah. You don't negotiate like that. Right. And he's like, I know how much you love this figure. And so he goes, it took me a while because back in the days, back before, now you've got a huge library of parts of Mythic Legions to where you can do a lot of pop and swap and all this and that. But it used to be the library is very limited. So if you wanted to customize something, you had to get fodder parts from other toy lines. Right. And so in order to put this figure together, he would have to like chase down all these other stuff. He goes, I knew how much you love this figure and I chased down all the parts for it and I made another one and it's identical to the first one. He goes, because I wanted to sell it to you here. So, and just, nice. First of all, I love it anyways. Like, it's just like, she's absolutely gorgeous. But the fact that he went through that trouble of like, this dude is, he's the director of sales and marketing for Four Horsemen. He's putting all these different campaigns together. He's writing bios. He's writing a book. He's doing a weekly show. And during all of that, he made time to find all the parts for it, put it together, paint one up, and sell it to me at Legions Con because he knew how much I love that figure. Yeah. If my house was on fire, I could not let this go. Like, dude, I would be grabbing this before I would check on my kids.
They're old enough to take care of themselves.
Yeah, they're gonna get out. They're gonna be okay.
That's awesome, man. That's a great story. I love hearing that. Yeah, Jeremy's a wonderful person. Yeah,
he's so good. Yeah,
awesome. All right, final question.
All right,
it's usually the same. I'm sure it won't be any different. What's your favorite thing about collecting?
The people.
Yeah,
the people, man. Like I said, when I first got back into this and I was grabbing the Motu stuff, I didn't know that there was anybody like me. I thought I was weird. I even remember at one point my mom was trying to make me feel better, and she's like, I saw an interview with Steven Spielberg, and he had a bunch of toys, and he said that he still plays with toys to this day. She's like, so maybe you're not that strange after all. Like, she was saying this, like, it's almost like a dig, but at the same time, like, she was trying to make me feel better. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. He's just like, maybe just a weird guy too. Maybe he's weird like me. But then to find all these other people that like brings them joy to do this. And I'm like, now, I've made so many friends in this community that, you come for the toys, you stay for the people. So,
yeah. My wife always says, she goes, I do not understand why in the world you can continue to talk to the same people all the time about the same stuff. Doesn't it ever get old? And I'm like, it never gets old. I was like, because when you're a kid, you connected with friends with your toys. Like you played together, you shared stories together, you imagined worlds together. Like you use the toys as a conduit to grow your friendship. But then you get older and you grow out of it. And some of your friends go on to like play sports or start getting into like riding bikes or skateboards or music or playing instruments or whatever. But those of us who love toys, like we still loved it. And even though we give it up for a while, we got back into it. And now that we've gotten back into it, we're normalizing it, and we're finding out that there's people like us. And it was a thing that made us feel weird and strange as adolescents, but now it's the thing that brings us together because we all went through that, where it was like a shared experience. We all had the same thing. It's not like trauma, but it's like that, it's like, it's not like we all have shared trauma, but it's like we all have the same shared experience of having to give up something that we loved for a time, and then that thing made us feel weird because we still love to do it, and now we get to do it as adults and it's not weird anymore, it's normal for us. And so like it's like that. And she's like, yeah, I guess. She's just like,
for me, I think it was a way to unlock a certain part of your brain, that imagination part, right? Like but one of my favorite cartoons to watch as a kid was Muppet Babies, right? Because
I loved them.
They would just sit around in their little nursery, right? And they would have like a cardboard box or something, and that cardboard box all of a sudden would become a spaceship, or it'd become like, a house, or it would become a whatever. And it was just using your imagination. And that's what it was when we were kids, right? Like you didn't have all the toys that we have today, right? You didn't have the giant play sets and all this kind of stuff. So you'd go outside and you'd dig ditches in the dirt, and you'd get like a cup holder from McDonald's and flip that over and it becomes something, and you'd get a box and that would become something. And just using that part of your brain, just kind of open it up and go, what are the possibilities? Like, what could I do with this? I don't know. And it kind of makes me sad that a lot of kids today, it's just electronics, right? It's whatever the game is showing you. Like you don't have that creative outlet the same way. So we lived in the golden time.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Curtis, so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. This has been really fun. And I'm actually surprised that we came in under an hour and 15 minutes, because I know you and I can definitely talk. We could talk for hours, and we certainly could. But I really appreciate you doing this. Give us one more time. Where are the two main places that we can find you on YouTube?
Just Shelve It on Sunday nights, which is the Shoot the Shelf show. And then Art by Akerman, which is my customizing channel. So
awesome. Well, thank you again for doing this. I really appreciate it. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and it's good to come back and do one, but also do one with a friend and somebody that I admire very much and respect. So thank you for doing this, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad that I used my one wish on Offworld to meet any person in history for any conversation, and I chose Mark during Meet the Collector. I know. It was the best. It was the best use of that ever. If anybody ever says to anybody, who would you like to talk to throughout all of history, everybody's answer should be Mark on Meet the Collector.
I love it. I'm gonna show this to my wife, and she's gonna be like, "Yeah, right." Oh man, well, I really appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching. I super appreciate it. Please continue to check us out over at Instagram and at Saturday Morning Toy Collector. And Curtis and I, we'll see you in the toy aisles.